Like orders like this like nice fancy limousine, and she's like, no, I'd rather walk. And he's like, what?
Oh, and like it's funny because he's like talking. He's like, I have like 382 different solutions for the problem. Then she's like, I don't want to go in the limousine. He's like, oh no, only 62. Like, because all of them failed because they involved going in the limo. So
Yeah.
it is really funny just their relationship and seeing how like she makes him stumble over himself, and he's
Well,
like,
the best
doesn't know
part too
what
is
to
like
do.
we're getting Lloyd's inner monologue where he's freaking out, but then we're also getting yours inner monologue where she's freaking out too because she's like, he's being so nice, but I can't sit down because of my butts the entire time. Like there's a great scene where they're on like this romantic like boat ride, and like yours just standing up in the boat because she can't sit down, and the whole time.
At like the theater show or something, and she's standing in the crowd, and he's like, please, the movie theater, and she's standing, he's like, please, Yor, please sit down.
Hey guys, I'm Bill, a one-time Instagram blogger and now a podcaster.
And I'm Alex, the chaotic neutral.
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
A brother-sister duo.
That talks about gaming.
And also anime.
And don't forget the collecting, sometimes.
Ah, forget it. We're just a nostalgia podcast at this point.
But anyways, guys, thanks for joining us as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, how you been?
Help me. There's a creature. Dear God. Oh, it's down. There was a Tilly on my desk.
It happens.
I was worried she was going to be evil the whole podcast, but she decided to jump down. She could jump back up, though, any second. So there may be an interruption at some point. Who knows?
Yeah. It's been a week.
It has been a week. But I can say there's some good things coming up for me. So can't talk about them yet, but there's good things.
I'm not as irritated to this podcast, so that's a good sign.
That is good. That is good. I'm glad you're not as irritated. It's not good to be irritated.
Yeah,
what you drinking, Bill?
Stella Artois.
Artois? Don't they call it Stella Artois? Artois. Oh, you want to hear something funny?
Sure.
I was talking to my coworker Sue, and she, I don't know, I need to say her name because it won't make sense with the context. I don't know what we were talking about, but suddenly she was talking about how she used to take French lessons and how the teacher would call her Zouzou. So now I keep going, hello, bonjour, Zouzou, all the time. She's like, why did I say this to you? And I said, I don't know, but it's never going to leave. Bonjour, Zouzou.
I'm having a Stella Artois because I didn't feel like a seltzer and I wanted a beer. And if you're going to drink a beer, you might as well drink one that's good. So
I'm cheating on my boy Kirky, but I'm drinking from a big old bottle of water from the sink that I put in a Brita filter. So it's not tap water, it's filtered tap water. I'm a failure. I'm a failure to Kirky. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's been quite a week though. I'm just tired and trying to get through.
It has been quite a week. I'm very glad it's over. There's been ups and downs, but there's good things coming in the future is all I can say. So yeah.
Yeah. I went manga shopping yesterday.
I noticed, and you didn't get me a copy of Dragon Ball.
So there was legit one on the shelf, and I didn't want to push my luck because, fun fact, Barnes & Noble doesn't care about release dates in the slightest, and they'll just put stuff out the second they get it in stock. And yesterday I managed to get a copy of Chainsaw Man Volume 14 and Dragon Ball Super Volume 20, both of which aren't out until February 6th. So... yeah.
A little bit. I can't believe it's almost February though already.
I know. I
Like,
guarantee you though, if you go to Barnes and Noble like tomorrow, there's probably a copy on the shelf again.
oh yeah, I bet.
Because they just put those things out. They don't give a shit about release dates.
No, why would they?
Yeah, so I've already read
What?
Chainsaw Man Volume 14.
Wow.
It's very interesting reading that now after like, especially just because like the part 2 is just so tonally different from part 1. It's very interesting to read now.
That's
But
funny.
I'm not gonna say too much just to avoid
Yeah,
spoilers. For
no
people who haven't read it.
spoilers. I haven't gotten caught up yet, so I can't have any spoily boilies.
Yeah.
No spoily boilies, except this episode may contain spoilers. If you haven't watched either of the shows we're gonna talk
I'm pretty
about.
sure most people know by this point that, in case you don't know, we're doing Anime Swap again. First one
Shit!
is season.
I thought we already introduced that.
No.
First one of season. What season is this again?
Season 4.
Why are people still here? Why are they
Because
still
they
watching
like
this?
our chaos. I
Why?
don't know.
Why?
Because we're fun, I guess.
We are.
Apparently, people were sad when you weren't.
You know
here,
what would
right?
make you more fun, Bill? Is
What?
if you did a little
No,
ASMR
I'm not.
every once
I don't like this new like running joke.
Josh. Come on. Don't be a quitter.
But anyways, so
Just do one. Just say hi.
I physically
Just-
can't.
Yes, you can. That's
No,
fucking
I
quitters talk.
can't.
You
My voice
try.
is not capable.
Try right now. Try right now, and I won't bring it up again. If you genuinely try, I won't keep bugging you about it.
No, we're ending this now.
You about it. You ASMR.
It's so ineffective when you just break your mic being dramatic like that.
Go fuck yourself.
But yeah, anyways, so
Use your ASMR. I'm gonna talk the rest of the episode in ASMR. Just to piss.
I'll just mute you and do this solo then.
Go fuck yourself down the wall.
But anyways, so first anime swap of the year.
First anime swap of the year, guys.
All right,
Let's
seriously,
go.
stop it. Unless you want to be up till like midnight recording this. Yeah,
I'm
then we have to make progress.
I'm sleepy. I just wanted you to say hi in ASMR.
I can't. I physically cannot get my voice to do that.
Fucking quitters talk. Anyways. Bill, what shows did we do for the swappings of the
Well,
animes?
So anime swap, everyone knows it's basically I pick a show, Alex picks a show, and we go over.
And I proved that I have great taste, and Bill likes all the shows that I pick. And it worked this time too.
Well, anyways, so I pick a show, Alex picks a show. The shows do not have to be similar in tone. It's legit. The whole versus thing is just a name. It's not actually. We're not pitting these shows against each other. It is simply just me and Alex sharing shows and getting us to expand our palettes a little bit.
Yes.
So like most of these, we're going to spoil the hell out of these. So if you haven't seen either of the shows, back away now. But for this episode, we're actually going to be doing our first revisit of a previous anime swap show.
Oh.
We're going to be talking about Spy Family season 2, which is my pick for this swap, and then Alex's pick was My Happy Marriage.
Yes. I've been
So-
fucking built to watch this show for quite a bit now.
I'm aware.
And it finally worked.
It's not that I wasn't gonna watch it. It's just I have so many other shows I have to watch.
That's quitters talk.
No, it's called having a backlog, Alex. You're aware of it too. There's like multiple shows you still have to watch.
Shut up. I gotta get caught. My plan this on Sunday is to get caught up on Attack on Titan. That's my plan. I promise you, Slade, I will finish by this weekend.
Yeah.
Or I won't.
But yeah, so this was an interesting one because we went with 12ers again, and 12ers are like the best for anime swaps because you can finish them in literally like 2 days, sometimes 1 day, depending on how dedicated you are.
Yeah. On a weekend, definitely you can finish your 12 episodes in 1 day.
Like when we did Dorohedoro, I finished that in a day. Like it
Yeah.
was an easy one.
Season 2.
Yeah, it's true. It's coming. It's fascinating though because we haven't done a follow up yet on a previous one. Because and I believe we last Spy Family was like 3 anime swaps ago. I want to say
Hmm.
because we pitted it up. We pitted it against Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we not really pitted it, but you know what I mean.
You know, yeah, I picked one. I picked Jujutsu Kaisen. Bill picked Spy Family. Yada yada yada. And this time, Bill also picked Spy Family, and
Well,
I picked My Happy
the
Marriage.
thing about this one is Spy Family season 1 was a 26er or 24. Either way, it was double the size of this season.
Yeah.
And Jujutsu Kaisen was of equal length. We
Mhm.
couldn't do them both again this time
Again.
around because Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 is of equal length to its first season. Spy Family is a
Yep.
half season.
Yep.
We'll be getting into why as we go through it, but
Yeah.
so yeah, Spy Family season 2 was an interesting one, I have to say. I was pretty much hyped for this from the get-go because Spy Family season 1, as we had talked about previously, was a very enjoyable, wholesome show when
Mhm.
it came out, and it was very surprising just because it kind of came out of nowhere and it kind of took the world by storm in a lot of ways.
Mm.
The problem is though, what we didn't know was, well, what a lot of people didn't realize was Spy Family is a very new manga
Yes.
and there's not a whole lot of material left, which is partially why the second season was only 12 episodes.
Mhm.
So I guess going back when it started releasing, I watched this literally episode by episode. I waited like basically every Sunday and watched the new dubbed episode that would come out. So I did it the traditional method. Alex actually binged it.
Yes, I did binge Spy Family, but I will say I watched My Happy Marriage the traditional way because I had to. I didn't
Yes.
have a choice.
Yes.
But I prefer the binge watch over the watch weekly. I like
Yeah,
to get
well,
it
I mean-
all at once.
So the fun fact about this season of Spy Family was I had already read the manga like up to this point. So I already knew everything. Yeah, I was basically just waiting for like certain things to be animated. And what I was so happy about was the season literally starts off on such a great note.
What do you
This is
mean? Yor got shot in the ass.
And it's one of the funniest filler chapters in the manga
Oh.
that I was actually a little worried they weren't going to even cover it
Mhm.
because it's just such a filler chapter, but it's like hilarious filler because it's literally the basically Yor gets distracted on one of her assassin missions and her target wasn't quite dead yet and shot her in the butt while she wasn't paying attention, and she proceeds to spend the rest of the episode in agony because she got shot in the ass. And the
Lloyd
whole time,
thinks it's like something he did.
yeah, Lloyd is overthinking things like he usually does because it's funny how like it's implied his previous relationships he was like a master, but like with Yor
He can't figure her out.
he can't figure Yor out because Yor is fucking insane.
Not
sometimes.
normal.
Yor is kind of an anomaly.
Yeah.
So the whole time he's basically plans this like because when she first comes back, she's absolutely in agony and miserable, and
Mhm.
she basically just goes right to bed and he thinks he fucked up. So
Mhm.
he plans out this elaborate date for them the next day, but Yor is still in agony and can't sit down at all.
Yeah.
So like legit, they go through the entire date and like orders like this like nice fancy limousine, and she's like, "No, I'd rather walk." He's like, "What?"
Oh, and like it's funny because he's like talking. He's like, I have like 382 different solutions for the problem. Then she's like, I don't want to go in the limousine. He's like, oh no, only 62. Like, because all of them failed because they involved going in the limo. So
Yeah.
it is really funny just their relationship and seeing how like she makes him stumble over himself, and he's
Well,
like,
the best
doesn't know
part
what
too
to
is like
do.
we're getting Lloyd's inner monologue where he's freaking out, but then we're also getting Yor's inner monologue where she's freaking out too because she's like, he's being so nice, but I can't sit down because of my butts the entire time. Like there's a
Yeah.
great scene where they're on like this romantic like boat ride, and
Mhm.
like Yor's just
She's
standing up in
standing in
the boats because she can't sit down and the
Or-
whole time.
At like the theater show or something, and she's standing in the crowd, and he's like, please, the movie theater, and she's standing, he's like, please, Yor, please sit down, and she's
Yeah.
like, no. I can't.
And the whole time she's like either like hunched over, like holding her ass, or like has the grumpiest looking face like going on.
Mm,
And it's hilarious because this is Yor, who's generally a like ball of positivity in most
yeah.
episodes when she's not killing things. Um, but then it ends with this hilarious climax of like they go to a restaurant and the relative of the guy she killed, I guess, is there,
Yeah.
and he basically fills her wine glass with like all of this like toxins from like a blow. I think it's like a pufferfish,
Mm.
and you're being a freak of nature drinks it, and it actually paralyzes the pain out of her, so she's not in pain anymore.
Oh, but one thing we forgot to mention is that as they're going on this date,
Oh yeah,
Anya
Anya
and
and
Frankie are
Frankie are
tailing are tailing
tailing her.
them and spying on the date, and then Anya actually saves the day, like and beats
Oh
up
yeah,
the guy, and he's,
in her spy uniform.
which I thought was just adorable when I
The
saw
best
that.
part is though, after Yor gets temporarily cured, they have like a wonderful rest of their night, and she
Yeah,
thanks Lloyd for giving her a wonderful day. And then the toxins wear off by morning, and
and the
she's
next
miserable
morning,
again.
and he's so confused. Oh, their dynamic is so fun.
Yeah, it's funny how like a fake couple is one of the most wholesome couples in anime right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess going through it though, like this season has an interesting structure. There
Hmm.
is one central arc that most of the season takes place in, but
Hmm.
then like it's bookended by like a bunch of filler episodes on both sides.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because like you can definitely see like that first episode is like a full episode, but then the following filler episodes are all kind of split up into little almost I'd say
Yeah,
mini episodes.
and like we get a
Which are fun. Like I think all of them were pretty fun. But
hmm,
once you get into like the root of the season, it's where it really takes off.
yeah, because like there's a few filler episodes here and there, like our buddy Slade, he had mentioned previously that like he did not like all of the Anya school segments. Well,
Hmm.
in this season, there's like one episode dedicated to the school,
Yeah.
and it goes by. It pretty much is over, and then we go straight back to Yor and Lloyd stuff because then we get like Frankie trying to impress the girl who lost her cat,
Mm.
and Yor happens to find him and decides to help,
Yep.
and Yor like somehow like gets like covered in cats and she's like spinning around in the
Yep.
background while Frankie's trying to catch this one cat that's kind of like Tilly in a way.
Honestly, yeah, I was getting major Tilly vibes, and then he finally catches the cat, and then
No, no,
the harshest.
your
Oh yeah,
catches the
Yor
cat
catches the
with
cat.
like the scariest fucking catching animation you'll ever see. Like she
Yep,
jumps in the air with like the killer eyes, and the cat's like, "Oh no."
the cat's like, I fucked up,
She also
and
rips
then
Frankie's like fancy robot suit apart, which is hilarious.
yeah, and then when he finally does return the cat, he gets the harshest blow of, "Oh yeah, this is my boyfriend,"
Yep,
and he's like, "I did this for nothing."
yep. Poor Frankie. But I guess though, like going into the actual like main arc,
Plot.
the main arc of Spy Family season 2 is fascinating. Basically, your gets assigned a basically she gets assigned as a bodyguard for this like couple that's essentially on the run.
Which I
And
think is actually really cool because you actually get to see like her boss and like who she's employed by, and like you get a little more understanding of like the organization she's working for, which is interesting.
you also can tell a little bit from like that conversation she has with the leader of the garden
Mhm.
that he's
The
kind of worried that
shopkeeper.
the shopkeeper, yeah. He's kind of worried that yours starting to like lose interest and want to leave because
Mm.
it's pretty apparent they kind of need her.
Yeah, I mean, like she kind of is the organization in a point. I mean, like the other ones are qualified because the one she's working with, I'm forgetting his name. He's like talented too, but like yours
Mm.
just a different level.
Your is we don't know. There's definitely something about your and Yuri to a degree as well.
Mm.
We just there's something about them that I predict is going to get revealed at some point.
Like you think like there's some sort of maybe like human experimentation like that Anya went through.
It's a theory. I don't.
I can
I mean,
see that.
for all we know, your is just a freak of nature. But
Yeah.
um, that because there is our we already know that Anya and Bond were experimented on.
Mhm.
There's a good theory going around that Eeyore may have been also, because
Mm.
there's just a lot that doesn't add up with Eeyore.
Yeah.
Granted, it's mostly played for laughs, but
Yeah.
anyways, so going to this arc, like Yor gets assigned to this mission. She's essentially bodyguarding this family that is trying to escape uh
Mhm.
who's
Well, it's
basically,
more of a mother and a son, right? Like it's a
well,
mafioso's
there's
wife.
yeah, she has been remarried, I believe, though, because I believe her husband's there as well.
No, it's her fake husband. He's
Fake.
pretending. Because
Oh, okay,
remember,
yeah,
there's a
that's what it was.
moment where he's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's right, that's right.
yeah.
But they're basically trying to escape, and they're taking basically an ocean liner,
Mhm.
although it's more of a cruise in this case, out to
Yeah.
basically out to a certain point where they can get off the ship and get to like a
A
raft where they
secondary
can,
shift. Yeah.
yeah, to basically get her away. But of course, there's a number of assassins from the other side that are after her. So yours basically been assigned as the bodyguard. At
Yep.
the same time, Anya wins a trip on the cruise, and Lloyd decides, okay, I have to go with her now. And the
Mhm.
best part is Anya's out gloating, saying this is the great. Oh, no, actually, this comes later. I'll save that for a
Yeah.
bit. Um, so they go on the cruise, and yours kind of disappointed that she won't be able to spend time with the family because she'll be working, quote unquote, working for the
Yeah.
government as her alibi is. And Lloyd is saying, this is actually interesting because it's one of the few times we get to see Lloyd as just Lloyd and not as Twilight, not as
Yeah.
Twilight.
And I will say, like, I know, like, for some people, they really enjoyed, of course, like, you enjoyed yours backstory, but I really enjoyed the scenes, like, of Lloyd and Anya, just like Lloyd just trying to be a dad, and he's like, it's for the mission. But I think deep down, too, you start seeing, like, no, he, like, just cares about Anya and he wants to make her happy at the same
Well,
time.
we'll see in later episodes too. There's another family member that Lloyd really cares about. We'll
Mm,
see later on. But one of my favorite little meta joke, which also kind of establishes the time period that Spy Family takes place, because it's kind of vague. Like it's definitely in the 60s to 70s time range,
yeah.
just based on the fashion and like technology. There is a Easter egg though that I noticed right away that kind of can places it around when it is,
Mhm,
and that is that the cruise ship that they're on, the Lorelei.
mhm.
I'm a big ship nerd. Like that was my thing back in the day. So
He's
I
a
saw
ship
this.
dork.
Yeah, kind of. But I saw this like right away. The Lorelei is very clearly based on the Queen Mary too. I mean, not the Queen,
Mhm,
the Queen Elizabeth too, which
mhm.
was made in the 60s. But I believe she has her like 80s refit. So it's like vaguely like between the 60s and the 80s when Spy Family takes place. It's got to be
Hmm.
around there somewhere. Just because of the way the ship is, because the Queen Elizabeth is too was, I mean, it was taken out of service in '08, but I mean, it was around for a long time.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I saw her pop up on screen, I was like, "Hey, I
I
know
know
that ship."
that. Yeah.
Well, it's one of the most iconic ships of all time.
Mm,
So, but it's cool because then we go on the whole cruise thing, and it's funny because they kind of switch between like Yor and Lloyd and Anya, and like Yor the whole time she's kind of like learning from this family like what it means to
mhm.
like to really care about somebody.
Yeah.
And we get all sorts of wacky scenes where like different like assassins appear, and like there's one point where they like completely shoot up a room, and like Yor has to like
Yeah.
completely like dodge and protect everyone. Um there's a point where there's a whole bunch of assassins, and like Anya, like Yor's kind of like trying not to like break her cover, so then Anya comes out of nowhere and makes it look like it's like a stage performance, so no one
Oh,
thinks
yeah.
it's
Like
and the
it's
whole time.
circus. Like she's like, "Wow, the circus!" Which that is funny too of like Anya like genuinely trying to help at times, but then like at one point she's like trying to help, but like she just keeps getting distracted. Like she starts playing mini golf, like she starts
Yeah,
doing this stuff, and she's like at the end of the day, she's like, "Damn it, I meant to help."
there's also a little side story where Lloyd basically finds out that there's like bombs on the ship.
Yeah, and he goes into being the bomb the
Yeah,
bomb
he
diffuser.
basically disguises himself as a crew member and basically goes around diffusing bombs and stuff. And there's actually an interesting scene where like one of the members of like the government on the other side are kind of gives him this look of like he's clearly like suspicious, and they never really follow up on it. It's just kind of a little
Mm.
thing that you note if you pay attention really close,
Hmm.
because it is kind of suspicious how he comes out of nowhere and just kind of does all this stuff.
Sus. Very
But
sus.
the biggest part, well, other than like also Anya getting left in the daycare room so that she can get separated from Lloyd temporarily, and then like she immediately ditches the daycare lady. And then
Yeah.
we'll get to what happens later, but the biggest part of this entire thing is the big climactic fight between Yor and all the assassins. And this is
Mm.
like this goes on for like quite a while, and like Yor goes through some
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I
Because
think
there
my
is
favorite part of that fight though is when like she's just beating down the assassins one by one and it's like I'm the lady of curly hair and she's like dead and then like I'm the
yeah,
master of knives dead and she
dead.
just like keeps like killing them instantly.
Yeah. Like
It's just
she goes through all of them. There's a few though at the end that are really strong. She actually has
oh
to like
yeah.
take serious. And like at one point she gets like straight up stabbed in the chest and like beaten down.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like they are contemplating
Well,
if she can
yeah.
even go on.
Well, and a lot of it too is like I feel like during this whole experience where she's meeting, I think her name's Olka is the name of the woman she's protecting, and she's really starting to question like, do I want to do this anymore? Do I need to do this anymore? Like, and I think she's really solidifying that she really genuinely cares about Anya and Lloyd. Um,
Yeah.
and she's questioning everything and like but in the end like she kind of has to be like no I'm making it back to them. I promise that I'm going to spend time with them on this trip, so I'm going to do this, and then she ends up kicking ass.
Yeah. It also is
But
interesting because this season does a few things that some people might miss because they're too busy to get to the next episode. A couple of the episodes have after credit scenes.
Mhm.
And you can easily miss these if you're not paying attention. But one of them in particular is we get some of Yor and Yuri's backstory a little bit,
Yeah.
which is a very interesting scene because it kind of other than we get more not Yuri being incredibly creepy.
Yes.
Like we see inside his locker and it's all pictures of Yor, and it's like, dude, I get
Dude,
it's a
you have issues.
I get it's a Japanese thing, but it's still weird. in
No,
many
that's
ways.
weird. That's weird.
Yeah, it's very common in Japan though, which is but yeah, so we get some backstory on like Yuri and Yor's like upbringing, because a lot of the whole reason why Yor becomes an assassin is she's basically taking care of Yuri.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we go through the whole thing and like Yor defeats the assassins with a little bit of help from Anya. She throws one of her knives off to her, and Yor's like, "Where did this come from?"
And that is like kind of a nice scene. Like she's helping in the only way she can. She's like, no, she just wants to help her mom, and it is really sweet. Like dangerous. Shouldn't do that, Anya, but very sweet.
And then the best part is after like it all gets taken care of and everything starts going back to normal, the daycare lady's like, "There you are. Where have you been?" And Anya's like, "I had to use potty." And it's like a good one. You forget sometimes that Anya's like 5 or 6-ish, I think.
I think she's 5 because I think all the
Yeah.
other kids in her grade are like 6. I think she's younger than them, so she's
Yeah.
4 or 5. So
Anya's
she's a
pretty
baby.
young, and you kind of forget.
But she's really intelligent for her age when you think about it.
Yeah, when she actually uses her smarts and doesn't just cheat all the time.
Yeah.
But thankfully though, after that, like the family gets away safely, and like Yor basically
And Yor has a really like touching moment too when she's saying like goodbye, because she's like it's almost like they leave it as like I do hope like that you find what you're looking for, like what Yor really wants, and it's a really nice scene.
Yep. And then the next episode is the rest of the season is all filler episodes, but like
Yeah.
they're really awesome filler episodes. Like we get
Yeah.
the conclusion of the cruise ship arc where like Yor gets to spend a day with Lloyd and Anya, and it's funny because they want to go to the beach, but Yor's like, I can't go to the beach because I have this
I
massive
have a
scar,
stab wound.
massive stab wound. So,
Yeah.
but instead she wears a dive suit, so it's
Yeah.
not noticeable.
And they went snorkeling, so it was fine. But she almost killed Anya in a surfboarding accident.
Yep. There was also the biking scene where they're on a bicycle made for 3, and
Yeah.
Yor just powers on and like flies around. And then the funniest scene at the end is like Yor at this point, she's been going for like days without sleep.
With no
So
sleep.
she finally just crashes. And Lloyd's like, Yor. It's like, what's going
Well, I think it's like, didn't like Anya go carry me or like, or
Yeah,
yeah, and
so
then
he's
ends up carrying them both,
yeah,
and
it's just the
everyone's
funniest.
staring at them. Oh,
Yeah, that was a fun scene. And then we had the next episode is completely filler, and it's one of the most goofy episodes. It's basically they have to follow up on the whole Becky is in love with Lloyd arc.
yes.
And there's a whole scene where like Becky comes to visit Anya at their house, and like she is just simping over Lloyd. It's so
Yep.
bad. And it gets to the point where she's like so embarrassed by being near him that like Yor thinks she's sick and freaks out and rushes her to the hospital, runs out of the house carrying her.
Yep.
And there's a point where she gets hit by a fucking car, flies through the air, and then just keeps running, catches Becky, and she's like, don't worry, you're gonna be okay. And then Becky's like, I don't think you are.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
You just got hit by a car, ma'am.
Yeah, because Yor is not normal.
Well, we knew that, but
yeah, that was a fun episode. And then the final episode of the season is arguably one of the best, and that is Lloyd and Bond.
Yes. Skinny Bond.
So like,
I love that scene where it just breaks Lloyd and he just starts.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. But so Lloyd basically takes Bond for a walk, and during the walk, like a bunch of things start happening. Where like, because Bond's secret powers, he sees the future.
Yeah.
And at various points, he sees like this unfortunate events about to happen, and he constantly tries to stop them,
to change
but
the future.
just makes things worse at the time because he's also trying not to make Lloyd think he's like weird and we'll get
insane.
Rid of him. Yeah. But it climaxes with this really awesome moment where Bond like runs into a burning building to save a puppy. And Lloyd like is massively impressed. He's very impressed that like Bond knew all these things, and he's like he gets them all out. And they find the guy the arsonist who started the fire, and he's like super impressed that it happened. But then in the process, Bond gets splashed with water because he partially got set on fire.
Yeah, he was on fire.
And because he's one of those big floofy dogs, it like all the fur just kind of shrunk around him, and he looked like this skinny thing. And Lloyd actually breaks his like facade for like the first time in the series.
And he makes the best face because you can just see, and like the best part, I feel like it was just like it was so human because I feel like Lloyd has been so like unhuman in a lot of the series, and it was finally a moment where he just like even he looks at a fluffy dog that's all covered in water and can't help but laugh.
But it's funny because like you can tell throughout the entire series, you can see Lloyd's whole facade is cracking ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Because Yor and Anya just do that to him. And it's funny when we finally see it start to break through, ironically, with Bond of all characters. But then, of course, the season basically ends where, like, Lloyd brings Bond home, and then Bond's all tiny, and Anya's, like, horrified when she sees him. and Yor's like, oh, that always happens. He'll be fine eventually.
Oh. But it is cute when Anya gives them like the pretend Stellas, the origami Stellas at the end. She's like, good job. So it was really cute.
And the season ends on a really sweet note. Like we get like some nice little character moments, and it ends with the whole see you next mission thing. Because there is more to the story. Unfortunately, not a lot of manga at the moment to cover.
And that's why they're making a movie.
Yeah, the next
talk about next.
we'll eventually on the next 3 anime films. I'm sure by then we'll have 3 films we've watched.
Yeah.
And we'll definitely cover the Spy Family Code White film, which I'm looking forward to, even though it's not canon.
Yeah. Hey, it's something.
So interesting. Like going through this season, it was. I mean, first off, we mentioned it in the previous like 2 episodes, but the opening to this anime, like Kurakura, I fucking love Kura. I fucking love this song so much. Well, also, I just love the insanity of the opening. It's like they're making coffee and like doing all this crazy shit, and it's like flying all over the place and stuff.
Sorry, I was looking up photos for season 2, and then it came up with the picture of Yor going.
Oh yeah, her grump face.
Her
I
front
love that.
face is so
I
perfect.
thought the animation was better this season. I think they switched over to Cloverworks for the
Hmm.
animation this time around, and it looks very nice.
No, yeah, I mean, I still think it looked like character designs still looked the same, but it was very clean. And I
Did
will
you
say
notice
too,
Anya's voice changed?
no, I didn't actually.
So her voice actress was out for most of the season on maternity leave, so she actually got replaced
Oh.
briefly, and the replacement actor did a really good job because I didn't even notice. So
Yeah, I had no idea. I guess though it is a little easier though when you're talking in like a very baby voice,
in
but
the Anya voice.
um I didn't notice at all. So I'm
Hmm.
pretty impressed with that. And I will say too, like this season for sure, I really enjoyed season one, but I gotta say, season two, like it just had a great opening. It really draw you in. It was just really funny. It made you laugh. And then when you got to like the yours, like your assassin on a boat trying to balance her job versus her family, that like it was so interesting. And it made me I went back and actually I rewatched season one. Um and I was just like, wow, like this show is definitely really good. I'm really looking forward to see more of what they do because I feel like there's still so many unanswered questions. Like I
Hmm.
want to know more about Lloyd. I want to know even more about Yor. And then at the same time, I want to know more about Anya, like in her abilities and like
There's so many unanswered questions in this
no,
series, and
yeah.
I don't know where Endo's going. But also interestingly enough, like we didn't see a whole lot of like the school stuff, like Damien and everybody.
No, yeah.
They were very in the background, which some people might prefer.
Mm.
Yeah,
Slade.
so, um,
I did really like that scene though of like Damien like was overworking at school and then instead of
mm,
like the school punished him by making him go on like an exploratory trip, which
yeah.
I thought was sweet because like you kind of feel especially after
Oh yeah,
watching like
and
the last seasons.
that instructor was totally voiced by Chris Sabat too,
Yes.
which
Yes,
was
I
great.
heard I all I heard was Zorro the whole time or just all the Chris Abbott roles and I was like this is
Yeah.
so silly. But I thought it was really cute because I feel like especially after going back and rewatching season 1 like and just seeing like Damien like how he's like it is really like sad what he's
He's
going
another
through.
character that there's a lot to unpack. Basically, there's a lot
Yeah.
of these characters are all very surprisingly complex.
No, yeah. I feel like it's going to take a bit to flush any of them out, but I'm looking forward to a season 3 in the movie. I'm looking forward
Mm.
to it.
Movie for sure. Season 3 is probably going to be a bit because the manga is so slowly coming out.
Oh yeah.
Um, there's also the great scene where Anya like gets back to school and she's gloating about going on the cruise, and all the students are like, "Oh, you were in peasant class," basically like just making shitting
Or
all
like
over.
all of them going like a cruise. I went on an airplane, or like a like I
Yeah,
rented a whole village or something, and
yeah,
like it's just like
just,
poor Anya. She's just
just shat
trying.
all over her. Ironically, Damien
Yeah.
was the nicest to her there,
Yeah.
which was funny.
Well, and that's one thing. Going back and watching like Damien's little like puppy crush on Anya is just so cute. It's adorable. I can't wait to see where that goes as well. It's just so
Yeah,
cute.
I gave this season a solid 8.5, almost a 9.
Yeah, I
My
think
my
that
only real
too.
problem was it was too short. It was
No,
over too short.
yeah, I wanted more. I definitely wanted more, which is why I went back and watched season one.
Yeah. My only other issue was there was a little bit of inconsistency with the whole like the way it was structured, which I didn't mind,
Mm,
but at the same time it could have been a little better because the whole there's one main plot arc, which is the cruise arc, and then the
mm,
rest is just kind of extras that they just stuck on the ends, which is
yeah,
fine. It just the flow was a little weird because I'll admit,
yeah.
like when you watched it weekly, like I did, you would get like the first couple weeks were kind of like, all right, it's kind of weird, and then you'd get to this like major arc, and you'd be like, God damn it, I want the
Oh,
next part.
yeah, and then it would be like womp womp back to filler.
Yep. Yeah, it was like I said, 8.5. That's really good.
No, yeah,
Great, great opening, great ending, great animation, great story.
it definitely like when we watched it the first time, I really liked it, but there was like no guarantee I was gonna pick it up again. But after watching this one, like I am guaranteed, like I am hooked and I want more. So
Mm,
it definitely, I feel like it got me more into the show.
yeah. I told you, like season one, the first time around, it's good. The second time around, it's so much better because you notice so many things that you missed the first time around.
Yeah. No, I did. I definitely did. I'm glad I went and rewatched it.
Yeah. So moving on now, we're going to the show Alex recommended. And
Yes.
boy, is this one interesting.
So I told Bill, I'm like, you're gonna get that same vibe you got from Sword Hero, where you just hated everyone. And did you get
Yeah.
that vibe? Yeah.
Yeah, I texted you in episode one. When I watched episode one, I texted you. I was like, I'm like, wow, everyone in this show is so fucking unlikable. But I guess that's probably the point.
Yes. So My Happy Marriage, it's originally a light novel, and then it was adapted into a manga and also a anime, and I believe there's also a live action film as
Mhm.
well. The best genre to describe My Happy Marriage would be like a fantasy it's fantasy romance.
Yeah, I was not expecting the supernatural elements. I'm
No,
not
and
gonna
that's what I
lie.
think is kind of fun about it, is that there is, because like really I don't think the story would go where it is without those supernatural elements. Like I think it definitely adds more drama. Oh yeah, it's definitely drama as well. Um
Yeah, yeah.
but the show is kind of set in this like Taisho era, but it's like
It's
that
very
era of
unclear.
like, it's like that, I feel like it's that transition of like Japan into a modernization where they started, people started using weapons, started wearing more European clothing and, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Um
it's pre-world, like obviously pre like World War One, two ish, but it's like post like samurai.
Industrialization.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting because I'm currently watching Rurouni Kenshin at the same time,
Mhm.
and that also takes place in like the same era, but it was a much earlier point of that era.
Yep.
Because at this point they have cars and stuff, and it's the Western wear was very interesting to me because that stuck out right away as being like, okay, this takes place much like the late 1800s, almost
Mm,
1900s.
yeah. So I guess to start it out, just to give a basic summary of the show. Well, so in the show, people have these supernatural talents. And like if you're not, and like certain families have specific ones. And some families, like you'll find out the main character is part of a very special family. Um but your main character is named Mio, and Mio Saimori, and just so you know, your heart is going to break for this girl so many times. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it's just, her life has not been easy. Um, so basically, to kind of start it out, you're kind of introduced to Mio,
You're
and
introduced to Mio by literally her, who you find out later, her sister throws tea at her and basically makes fun of her for not being able to make tea.
yeah, her sister Kaya, big old bitch. She's just total jerk, and and basically the reason why is that, so in the family, Mio did not, in air quotes, have magical abilities, supernatural abilities. Well, her sister did. And because she lacked that, her family basically fucking sucked and just abused the shit out of her.
Well, you
Basically
also
made
find
her
out too that her mother passed away when
yeah.
she was very young, and her father remarried to his previous lover,
Mhm.
who, like most evil step parents, hated the original daughter.
Yeah. And
The
because of
stepmother's
that,
the biggest piece of shit in this entire show. I'm just
I
gonna say
mean,
that.
the father too. I mean, like, they're honestly, they all suck. The whole Saimori
the
family
father the
sucks.
father sucked, but he also didn't abuse her directly. He just kind of let it happen, which isn't any
Which
better.
is, yeah, it's not they all suck. That like
He's also
literally,
apparently worse in the light novel. The anime kind of like lightened him a little bit.
yeah. So, and it basically starts out, we are introduced to this family, and I believe it's like Mio ends up being, I was originally engaged to a family friend that she grew up with and she really liked. But of course her sister, being her sister, says, "No, I want to be engaged to him," and ends up
Well, I don't think
kind of,
she was ever engaged. I just think she had feelings for him.
oh, okay. Maybe it was that. Oh, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking later on. But basically, her sister gets engaged to someone that she had feelings for growing up. I kind of can't remember his name. And then
Uh,
she ends up getting,
Toji, I think.
or Koji. I think it's
Koji.
Koji. Because her sister is like the pedestal child, like she's the one with abilities, she's the future of the family, and Mio is basically their garbage. Um, which is terrible, but that's how they treat her. So they end up sending Mio, she ends up getting engaged to Kudo, in the Kudo family, which he is notoriously a bad-tempered soldier who's scared away a ton of potential wives. So they're basically sending her off to him to basically get embarrassed and shamed and thrown out onto the street.
Yeah, I
So
think basically his reasoning is like either she goes, makes a fool of herself, and gets kicked to the curb, and he doesn't have to deal with her anymore, or she gets taken into that family and, in his eyes, probably abused more, which would is kind of what they want, as
mhm.
fucked up as that is. But
No,
either way,
yeah.
she's out of his hair, which is hilarious because we find out later he made a massive blunder here.
No, yeah, because so their first interaction is like, I mean, she's immediately taken with him, especially because like, um, he's very handsome. He's a very handsome gentleman, and at the
Well,
same, but she
we
doesn't
have to
want to.
mention too the first character she meets is probably one of the best characters in the show.
Yes,
The maid. I'm forgetting her name right now.
the maid, Yuri. I believe her
Yuri.
name is Yuri. Yeah, she meets Yuri, and Yuri is this sweet old lady who just takes to Mio immediately and just
She
wants
was
wants to save her, basically.
I believe she was Kudo's nurse when he was a child, and then
Yeah, like
she's
his
kind of
nanny.
like the only she's basically like the only servant that like he can stand, so that's why she's been with him. But you notice like one thing I noticed right away is like he's supposed to be like this really high ranking like member of society from a very well off family, but he lives out in the middle of nowhere in this very modest home, which is
Mhm.
kind of a sign right away that he's not quite what you'd expect.
Yeah. And what we don't realize is that when he immediately meets like Mio, he just knows something is not right. Like just with how she acts
Hmm.
because she's very passive, subservient, and just has low self-esteem. So,
Well, another thing too that you noted that isn't explained, but you kind of get from context clues is it's implied like one of the things that kind of changes his opinion on her is how much Yuri like speaks highly of her because it's implied that the previous fiancés would come in, be nice in front of him, and then would treat like Yuri like shit behind his back,
yeah.
and she'd never defend them. And
Mhm.
she is defending Mio a lot, which is a striking contrast compared to the previous fiancés.
Mm. Yeah, and it's like a tough road at first cuz like at first like Mio, instinctually prepares breakfast for him and he turns the way. Which like makes her really sad. But then like, in his eyes though, like he thought she was going to poison him, which like in the past I
Well,
guess that's happened.
because also like because she is emotionally broken at this point, like
Yeah.
she doesn't know what when he tells her to try the food, she doesn't understand and she kind of locks up and he immediately thinks that she's doing up to no good
Mhm.
because it's just unfortunately Mio is a emotionally broken character at this point and she's been through a lot and it's he hasn't quite figured it out
Yeah.
100% yet.
But he slowly does, cause eventually later on, he does, try her cooking and and he praises her, and then she starts crying because, like, no one's ever, treated her kindly before. And this
Also like her one of her big this show actually does a really good job portraying like abuse
No,
uh,
yeah. It's it and that's one thing I really liked
realistically.
about it is that it really does show how cruelty can affect a person, how it can change someone. But then it also kind of shows too the opposite. It will turn into eventually how kindness can change someone.
Well,
But
because like
also,
her immediate coping mechanism to anything is to apologize, and he gets
yeah.
fed up. He gets fed up with that real quick.
No, yeah. And it ends up too like after kind of him getting to know her more, he ends up kind of realizing like ends up investigating her family because he knows like what they like something cannot be right just with how he recognizes that like this girl has been abused. Um and yeah, and then I think what happens after is they end up bonding more. I think they actually go out on their first date in town. Um and it ends up going pretty well. But in this background, we start learning about like Mio's true family bloodline. So she's not technically she doesn't fully have the Saimori family bloodline. She has this famous family bloodline known as the Usabas, which the Usaba's magic is basically dream sight is what they call it in the show. And it's one of the considered the most powerful of all the spirit sight in the like
And
in
it's
this series.
highly sought after.
Yeah.
And it's implied too that the Samoris are actually a pretty lackluster, like low class, like of the higher echelon families. They're probably like the most
The lower, yeah.
lowest, like because it's also implied that Aya's powers are basically useless and pretty pathetic. Like,
Mhm.
but because she had powers, they just
It
kind
was
of
better
used,
than nothing.
yeah, they used that as just a reason to praise her. Like it's heavily implied that if Kai had no powers as well, they would have treated her like shit as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like there's a lot of like backstory there, like finding out because there you find out that the father of Toji was pissed off that they sent Mio
Yeah.
away because he wanted that bloodline in his family.
Yep. So that's kind of happening in the background. And then at the same time, we're seeing more of Mio and Kyoka's relationship kind of getting closer. But Mio is also deciding to she doesn't want to be abandoned. So she's hiding the fact that she doesn't have spirit sight and doesn't
Yeah,
have abilities.
despite the fact that
Um,
he's already figured this all out because he obviously did because he's a high-ranking
oh,
military
yeah.
officer and he's
No,
already
yeah.
done the full background check at this point. And
Yeah.
he is disgusted by what he discovers, basically.
No, yeah. He's totally grossed out and he he's he's not planning on having her leave anytime soon. Like whether at this point it's not really love, it's more of like whether or not she's she stays and they get together or she leaves but he helps her find a better situation. His plan is to just help her at this point.
There,
Um
it's not love yet, but he's interested in her essentially. Like it's not like the previous fiancés where like he had no interest at all. Like he's something about her has interested in him essentially.
yeah. Yeah. And then I think what follows up is still more of them just kind of building a relationship. Mio
He
ends up
gets
asking Yuri to get a gift for Kyoka.
well, this is after he gave her the fancy comb because we
Yeah,
find out Mio had no possessions at all because her bitch ass stepmother basically took all of
threw them all away
basically
because
took all of Sumi's things that she left for Mio and got rid of them because she's a heartless bitch.
yeah.
Like the scene where Mio confronts her about this, she essentially accuses her of lying, which is bullshit, and stomps on her one possession she has left, which is a comb.
Yep.
And that's
And the
why
comb's broken.
the comb's all broken because of this. And they also lock her up in that shed, which is a massive trauma for her.
Yeah. It's
Um,
just all like the flashbacks to her life with the Saimoris. It also because at first you don't understand the full extent of the abuse, but then as you're going on and learning more about what she went through, it's heartbreaking to see just how someone can. And then again, like we said, it's a great portrayal of what abuse does to a person and what it's
mm.
actually like. Um,
Oh yeah, because
but
but during their first date, he gets her
yeah, a
a new
comb.
comb to replace her broken one, and Mio is so broken that she like can't accept it. Like she doesn't feel like she deserves it.
Yeah,
And
but you do, girl. You do deserve it.
after he convinces her to keep it, she wants to obviously get him something in return.
Mhm.
And basically,
She ends up going into town with Yuri, and
well,
this
Yuri
is
gives her this book of ideas, and she sees a cord, like how to make a cord. So she wants to make him a hair tie, essentially.
yeah,
And you can tell right away that Yuri has completely taken her in at this point and is rooting for her, essentially.
yeah. Shit, I mean, because she's such a sweetheart, and Yuri can just tell that she needs help, as much as Kyoka thinks she needs help as well. So they end up going shopping, and then of course you run into the little bitchette Kaya, which this is the scene that like made me end up watching the show because I was like, why is this girl so mean? And I saw a clip on like Reels or something, and she ends up just berating Mio and
Well, what
like,
happens is like they get the cord and stuff, and Yuri has to run over real quick to get
yeah,
like salt or something, and she leaves her for like a few seconds.
yeah.
And also at this point too, there was a little scene too where like uh crap, what's the guy's name?
Kyoka
The
or
the Kyoka. Kyoka gives her this amulet, which we don't know really what
yeah,
it's for yet, but he basically tells her if you leave the house, always have this on you,
yeah.
which she does at the time. But
Mhm,
basically, while she's there by herself, like her self esteem has started to get better at this point, but it's still not perfect. But
mhm.
Kaya shows up and basically like says, "Oh, what did you already get kicked out and you're just alone now?" And just basically
Like
keeps like
living on the street, and it's
yeah,
like, ugh.
just
And
keeps
like is
twisting the
kind
knife.
of rubbing in the face too that she's engaged to what's his name? Koji, and like, ugh.
Meanwhile,
And
Koji's there basically telling her to knock it off, but he's too much of a doormat to really do anything at this time.
yeah.
Um,
Um
and then of course Yuri returns, and did you catch like when Yuri like talks to Kaya for the first time? Her like demeanor is much more like guarded.
yeah.
Um, and they whole like they Kaya makes some snide comment about like, "Oh, you must be one of her coworkers," and she goes, "Coworker? I'm her
No, she's the
servant."
lady of the house. Like yeah. And she basically, and it's a good scene, like where Kai basically gets owned and she deserves
Ex-
it.
Except at this point, Mio's just been broken even further at this point, and she's
Yeah.
completely closed off again.
Mm. It's
And
really
she,
sad. Well, because it's sad because, like, it really, like we said, it's a great way of portraying abuse because really, like, someone, you can do so well, and it's like, it's two steps, like, one step forward, five steps back. That's really how it goes. It's like sometimes it may not seem like it's a lot, but it truly can affect someone
mm,
differently. And she's
but
really struggling through it.
she's basically like comatose at this point, and is just like won't talk to anybody and just goes to her room.
Yeah.
And eventually, though, she does start making the cord
Mm.
because basically she's come to the decision that she's going to just tell him everything and then give him the cord, and then she assumes get kicked out and be on her way.
Yeah.
Um, which she eventually gives him the cord, and tells him her entire thing, and he basically flat out tells her like, you don't have to leave.
Yeah. Which is a really sweet scene because there's another scene too where before that, Yuri basically talks to him about everything that happened that day and why, because she kind of locks herself up, and she basically encourages him to, like, like, she's the one, fall in love. And it's like
Mm.
really sweet because I think they both just want to help her. And then, like, because she's kind of locked herself in, he ends up inviting like a former maid at the
Oh yeah,
Samori
he
house
finds
that
her.
would protect, that felt, that saw what was going on
The
and
maid
said it
that
was
literally,
wrong.
the one that got fired for being nice to her, literally.
Yeah. And it was really great, like, cuz like she was so happy to see her, and it kind of really did just bring her, kind of back to like, okay, things are okay, like this is a good place for me. Um
We also get he was introduced earlier, but he his one of his prominent scenes there is he drives her home. We get one of Kyoka's coworkers,
yes.
Godo, who is
Yes.
one of the best characters in the show.
Yeah, he's so silly.
Yeah, he's basically he's the stereotypical like coworker that messes with his boss, but is like secretly a really good guy.
Mhm.
But so
The
then after
next
this,
Well,
they
the next
kind of
big plot thing is that Kaya eventually figures out
well
who she's
before
married to.
basically I believe what happens is like they kind of agree that they're gonna maybe like basically they start like falling in love with each other by this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he goes to the Samori family basically to tell them off,
Yeah, to be like, "Go
and
fuck
his
yourselves."
he basically tells them like i- he plans on marrying her, but
Mhm.
his condition is if they want any sort of like compensation, they need
They'll
to
never
apologize.
talk to. Yeah, they need to apologize and never speak to her again after that.
Yeah. Which they immediately throw up like hands like, what do you mean? Like, why do we have
Yeah,
to do this? And he basically implies like he basically tells them they're on thin ice now, and they basically realize shit, this could be really bad for us.
yeah, like we
Um,
fucked up.
yeah. Meanwhile, Kaya basically finds out who he is and basically
Jealous,
gets
jealous
jealous,
because
but
he's
also
hot.
gets yeah. She also gets these thoughts put in her head by
By her mother.
well, it's more Koji's dad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but her mother is a big part of it too, because the whole
Yeah.
plot is both of them.
Yeah. Koji's dad though is the one that's really behind it because he's the one that wants the Usopp bloodline.
Yeah.
But basically she goes to her dad and like demands to switch fiancés and because he's on thin ice, he says no. But he makes the poor blunder of not explaining why and just basically telling her to deal with it.
Yeah.
Which of course she won't let it go.
And then her and her mom take it into their own hands and they freaking abduct Mio and
Yeah,
lock her into the storage room again and are literally like whipping her
well,
or like
what happens is
cutting isn't it like they're cutting her with a knife or something?
well, what happens is they make a deal with Koji's dad to like kidnap her and they're gonna force her to break the engagement. And Koji's dad like sends out these guys to abduct her. But during this she was gonna go give she was going to go visit Kyoka at work and bring him his lunch. But in the process, she got a brand new like pouch to carry things in, but she forgot to switch over her little amulet.
Well, because she got like a brand new outfit and she got like a pouch that matched it and she forgot to bring the amulet
switch
over.
them. And we find out that amulet was actually to protect her.
Yeah.
And she gets kidnapped and basically they don't know where she is. But Koji basically finds out and threatens his father, but his father overpowers him because Koji's strong, but he's not that strong.
Yeah. Well, and he's also, I think he's weak due to his emotions not being fully in check as well.
Yeah, he's kind of a doormat, as we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We do meet his brother here though, and we met his brother earlier, but
yeah. But you get like a full understanding of his brother.
Yeah, his brother we find out later is a really good character.
He's in the military as well. Kind of.
Yes.
He's like
does sort of
different work.
He becomes the head of the family, essentially.
It's like really sad, like because you end up seeing that they're basically like abusing her even more. Like I think they were using like a knife or something and like cutting her kimono, cutting her.
Well, they were threatening to cut up her kimono because it was nice and she didn't deserve nice things, and like they cut it once, and then they basically keep telling her to break off the marriage and the engagement. No. And she basically Mio finally grows a spine and starts saying no, and they proceed to just beat the shit out of her. Basically, like they start slapping her around and like. Kaya starts strangling her at one point.
Yeah.
And
which is just freaking terrible. But Kyoka saves the day and he saves her.
What happens is Koji goes and like because he gets freed by his brother and like basically tells Kyoka like where she is, and they get back to the estate and
the doors are locked. Burns down.
Well,
the Samori residence all burns down as it should. They deserve
Well, what happens is like they get to the main gate and it's locked, so he just blows the gate up, and then they walk in, and of course like Mio's dad's
are there.
Well, Mio's dad has no idea what the fuck's going on because he's completely oblivious to this, but the other dad is like all like he's come to attack, and he's like help defend the fortress, and he walks right through them and just like basically takes them out in one shot.
Yeah.
And then of course the other dad gets up and decides to use fucking fire in a very flammable, because Japanese houses are very flammable.
Wood. Yes.
Yeah. And basically sets the entire estate on fire because he's being reckless with his fire powers, which is hilarious because like Mio's dad at this point still has no fucking idea what's going on, and
he's like, "You're burning my fucking house down. What the hell?"
Burning everything down. Yeah. And they basically like meanwhile in the shed they're like, what the fuck was that explosion?
Yeah.
And eventually he comes in and rescues her and like saves the day. And you get to see the fucking bitch ass stepmom just like have a breakdown outside because her entire
Yeah,
everything she basically
everything's
cared about.
gone.
Yeah,
And they totally get their comeuppance and stuff because like, hey, they basically are left with nothing to the
yeah,
point. Like I think like doesn't like the Kaya needs to go and get like a job or something. Like they all need to like they all have to start earning their keep.
yeah.
Um
Well, it's sad too because this shows even more just how kind of fucked up it was for Mio. But
mm,
after the fire and stuff, like Koji finally grows a spine and basically
yeah.
tells Kaya to shut the fuck up
Yeah.
and basically
He didn't
drags her.
slap her across the face or something. Like she
No, no,
deserved it.
he just
No.
yells at her and drags her out of the burning building because she would have
Yeah.
stayed. Basically, his response was like, I despise you, but I know that Mio will grieve you will grieve over
Yeah.
you for whatever reason, so I'm gonna get you out of here."
Because she's such a better person.
Yeah.
Um But they end up going back. Mio ends up
Well,
going back to the
I
Saimori
was
residence.
I was gonna say though, like the scene that really hit me that was like kind of fucked up about like Mio was like you see like Kaya and like the few things she has, and like Kaya has like a couple bags worth of possessions that weren't destroyed. And I'm sitting here
Mhm.
thinking like her
Mio
entire
had nothing.
yeah, her entire world got destroyed and she still has more than Mio did.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
No, it is really sad. Like
But she
the
gets
whole
sent basically she gets basically employed as a servant, which is really
yeah,
hilarious
which
in
is good.
hindsight.
I mean, like like she's gets what she kind of deserves, because now she's on the receiving end. Um, but they end up going back to the shrine the residence because she's just kind of it's almost like a healing moment for Mio. Like she
Hmm.
wants to kind of look at it, but it's like a good thing because it's
She
like
also
this was
wanted to
my
see
past.
the
Yes.
tree.
So one of the things that it was really sad, another really sad thing too, you see the flashback of is like her mother had this tree. And she loved the tree. And then of course when her mother died and that
They cut
fucking
the
bitch
fucking
came
tree
in, they
down.
cut the tree down. And it was like the one like memory of her mother. So she goes and she finds it and she finds the stump. And it's kind of the first thing that starts to unravel a secret that Mio didn't know about, which is
Yeah.
that she does have spiritual abilities and she does
Yes.
have the dream sight.
Because the second
Um,
she touches the stump, this magic kind of flows out of it, and then the
yep.
stump disintegrates into nothing.
Yeah.
Kind of hinting that something just happened.
Well, it was a lot of it was her mother's last
Well,
the mother's last bit of magic.
we'll get to what that was though later, because it's not explained yet.
Yes. And
But
then
she also has her last scene with Koji, where Koji basically accepts that she's moved on and basically is happy for her in his
yeah.
own way.
And like just like he's happy to see her happy
Yeah,
because he's never seen her that way, which is I
he
think something
accepts.
he had to accept too, that,
He
like,
he accepts
if
the
they
fact
had
that
a
she
life
doesn't love
together.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think he has to accept that, like, he never truly saw her at her happiness, and, like, he wants her to just be who she is now, which is great.
well,
Um,
there's like a point early on where he like was planning on committing a double suicide with her because he wanted to save her,
yeah.
but he can't go through with it.
Mm. What happens next? I'm trying to
So next
remember.
they start planning their they basically officially decide they're going to get engaged at this point because her parents are out of the
Oh, yeah.
picture now.
And
They
doesn't his
have
sister come to town?
yes, she comes to visit
Yes.
because Mio wants to be more ladylike.
Yes,
Um,
because she never
so
really she had no one growing up, so she didn't couldn't really learn from anyone. So Kyoka's sister ends up coming to town and ends up basically teaching her, mentoring her like on how to be a proper lady. Because I think too, it's like they have it's an event at the end of the series where she wants to go and support him and she wants to just make sure she leaves a good impression as
hmm,
his fiance. Um, which is sweet.
yeah, but there's like a whole training montage. But then we start finding out that like Mio's powers are starting
Well,
to
she's
appear.
having problems sleeping. Like she's
Yeah,
unable to sleep without like
she's fainting in real life. Like she's not
mhm.
eating properly, and it's like taking a toll at her health.
Yep.
And they think it's because she's practicing too
Like
hard.
she's overworking herself, but really it's because her abilities are coming in, which kind of starts to introduce one of the members of the Usopp family.
Yes, another character that like you hate at first and then like kind of like later.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, another subplot is happening where these grotesqueries is what they call them, but they're like monstery demons are starting to attack civilians nearby, and that's one thing that Kyoka ends up kind of getting stuck dealing with because he has to, as a military soldier, he has to go and take care of them. But they're kind of trying to figure out where it's coming from, who's doing this, because it's not normal. And at the same time, we have Mio, who's going through like kind of figuring out what's happening to her, like her powers are basically being unsealed. Like her mother, we
Yeah.
find out her mother sealed them away so that in a way she did it to protect her, but at the same time
because we find
also
out later on that her mother was sickly and like basically like she wasn't destined to live long to begin with.
yeah,
And
she couldn't protect her.
well, what happened was essentially like the Usopp family was in serious debt and they were basically going to be basically extinct.
Yeah.
And they made a deal with the Sumeri family to like basically Sumi like made a deal with the Sumeri family to essentially like she'd marry into them and they'd take on the debt from the Usopp family to save the
Yeah.
family. Which kind of like betrayed her father's trust and he basically kicked her, like disowned her at that point.
Yeah.
And she had the child and she could feel the child. She had Mio and realized like Mio had the abilities.
Yeah.
Also giving birth to her, cut her life basically expectancy in half.
Yeah.
It was very
she was
stark.
already sickly
We get to see the birth happen and it's kind of graphic.
Yeah.
For anime standards.
No, yeah, it definitely is. And I mean, it really just shows like her mother sealed basically the powers away because she knew that if she did not, I mean, what
They were going to
basically
fall
happened,
into the wrong hands.
no, yeah, like she would live her life terribly, like being forced to marry someone she didn't love and just all that stuff. So she ends up sealing them, but unfortunately, it also had the downside of like it also
cuts
made
even
her
more
life,
of her life.
But meeting the first Usopp family member, Arata, which at first he seems like a knight in shining armor. He kind of catches her when she faints in public.
I know he came off as really fake to me from the start.
Well, no, yeah, I know, but like in her eyes, he's just this nice guy that just helped her out, but is also trying to connect with her. And then it turns out they're family, and he needs to bring her back to the mansion, especially now that and basically what ends up happening too is that like he basically tells Kyoka like the only way that she's gonna be able to like sleep and like be able to get over her nightmares is if she comes back to their family, which is hard because they actually end up fighting it out because he does eventually bring Mio to the mansion, the Usopp mansion, and it does help her, but at the same time she loves him, she wants to engage, she doesn't want to leave him, and at the
same time though they had previously had a fight where like he rose his voice at her and basically like really hurt her like emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which
because
he immediately regretted it, but it did enough to like damage her again.
It made her feel like, okay, he doesn't want me here, maybe I should go here.
Because she makes that infamous quote where they ask her what does she want and her response is I don't care.
Yeah,
which gives a bunch of mixed signals, and they have a duel essentially for like whoever wins gets like Mio basically has to stay with.
Yeah.
And he cheats. He totally cheats. I'm not.
Arata cheats. But
I don't care if it was part of his magic. It was totally a bullshit move. He basically Kyoka had it won, and then like Araya like makes like this like illusion of Mio that that pops up in front of him when he's about to do the finishing blow, and he causes him to hesitate, and then he just like fucking shoots the sword out of his hand and like cheats. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
100%
No,
bullshit.
yeah.
I don't care.
But I mean, it's bullshit, but it was good that Mio was able to spend time there because while she's there, she learns about her mother more.
I'm
And
not
she
gonna
learns
lie
about
though.
her family.
This entire scene though, completely, I was taken out of it for one reason.
What?
Neo's grandfather is voiced by Dr. Eggman, and I could not unhear it. I could not unhear it the entire
I
time.
didn't ever hear that, so
I noticed it was
I
Mike
not
Pollock, right? I noticed it was Mike Pollock right away, and I was like,
Well-
it's Eggman.
Well, I didn't notice that, but she ends up learning about how to use her abilities and understanding them, and like learning that they're not a bad thing, which is also going to help cure the
Well,
nightmares.
She doesn't 100% learn how to control them yet, but she learns
no.
what they are.
No, she gets more of an understanding.
Because
And
this is
I
where it
think
kind of
she learns more. She learns about the family history, her mom, what
Yeah.
happened with the family debt, why everything happened, and why she ended up being estranged from her family. Oh Jesus!
But like one of the key things that the anime
Where the
does.
fuck is she? Sorry, I just heard like a giant thump. I don't know where she is.
You'll find her eventually. Yeah, but like one of the
No!
key things that happens is that's different from the I guess the anime does this different than the manga is
Sorry. There's a
Kyoka
cat.
is facing off against some of the demons and he actually gets like injured and put in a coma.
Mhm.
Although apparently in the light novel it's actually what's his name? The guy he dueled with
Arata.
Apparently Arata's the one that puts him in the coma in the light novel. I guess they were
Oh.
trying to make him less villainous in the
less
anime.
unlikable. I mean,
Yeah.
more likable.
Yeah.
Huh. And then
But,
Mio has to end up saving him with her dream magic because it's the only
But
way
we
that
get this
she
great
can-
scene where Mio like basically tells Arata to fuck off and like let her go.
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna save my man.
I love
Leave
that
me
like
alone."
she whacks him away and it knocks his glasses off and changes his hairstyle for the rest of the series.
Yes.
It's like expiatory hairstyle change. But we get this great scene of Mio enters the dream world and she actually we get a classic Persona like I'll face myself moment where she actually
Yes.
faces off against the incarnation of all of her trauma. And it was really off-putting seeing Mio like actually like that like tortured version of Mio who actually like was like very abrasive and like basically,
yeah.
she was basically the representation of all Mio's trauma.
No,
she
all
had
of her
to-
abuse, like
Yeah,
that
that
she
she-
suffered.
She had to face off essentially. Like I'm sitting here and I'm hearing like I'll face myself from Persona 4 just playing in the background, like you know. It's Tilly.
Tilly's here and she's rubbing on the microphone.
But
Hey,
yeah,
no.
eventually she gets to she finally finds Kyoka and they basically face off all of the demons in the dream world, and essentially it basically takes Kyoka out of his coma.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh yeah, and it's a really sweet scene. It would be better. All right, I love you, but you're being a lot. It's a really cute scene, and it's nice to see them. And they end up there's cat ass in my face. She ends up explaining like her supernatural abilities to them, and after this, she ends up going back home with them. Well, going back to her home, which is with Kyoka and I'm pre-fighting her
Yuri.
name. Yuri. She ends up going back. I'm sorry, I'm very distracted right now because there's a butthole right in my face.
If we were to share the video version, you'd get to see all the wonderful things that are happening
All
right
the
now.
wonderful thing. Yep. And then Arata, and then Arata revealed that like the whole reason why they also wanted her to go live at the Usuba mansion was also like because the emperor told.
Who's a psychopath?
Yeah, because he basically didn't want her ability to exist. But eventually, Mio goes home, and it's really sweet because she kind of gets back into her training. and they end up actually going to the event together. I can't remember what the event was. It was a party, and they end up
Yeah,
going together, and it's like a
you get
really
to see
sweet
me. You get to
scene.
see Mio in a Western dress, which is really nice.
Yes. It was really cute, and, it was a really good way to end it, and I definitely want more. You
Well,
definitely wanted
they leave the door open because there's more. That's for sure. I mean,
yeah,
the whole Emperor plot, because like the Emperor's son, the Prince, is also a major character, and he is very clearly a much different ruler than the Emperor is.
yes. And there's just I feel like there's still so much more, and I feel like I didn't do the best explaining this. I should have rewatched it sooner, but we kinda just did this super quickly.
I literally
Um
just watched it, so I have it's
No,
fresh in
yeah,
my
and
mind.
Bill has way more on his brain, but it's definitely a great series. Like, you love the characters. Like, you love
You love the
well, you
main
love
characters,
you love Kyoka, and Mio. Like, you just love them and you love their
and
bond and
and you love Yuri because she's like a badass.
well, and it's also nice, like, it's a slow burn. Like, because, like, it's like
To a
the
degree, I thought their
I mean
relationship built a little too quick. That's one of my few little complaints.
I
But
mean, but, like, I also think that you need to remember that, like, it probably was a longer period of time that they're compressing
yeah,
for
I
the show.
get it. It just the way
Um,
it felt very. See, my comparison is like the other show, Spy Family. That is a slow burn.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I don't know.
this
I
was
really
a
like
little quick, but not enough to ruin it. Just a little bit that I was kind of like that was a little fast. I would have liked a little more development, but they're
yeah,
also trying to compress a story into 12 episodes.
yeah. But I really like all I don't know. I really like the story, and I, like, haven't been able to get into, like, a romance or, like, a drama in a while, and, like, this one, like, it got me in, and I just loved it that I was watching it every single week, and I think a lot of it was, like,
I got
Mio is
a lot of Fruit Baskets vibes from this.
no, yeah, there's definitely I'd say Fruit Baskets vibes in this. Like, I mean, like it's painful, like what you see Mio go through. But I also think, like we kind of touched on a couple times, like it really does show abuse in a very realistic way, and like
Mm,
just someone suffering immense trauma, and also the stages of healing. Like because we know like she's not completely healed yet. She's still
no,
going to suffer. There's still going to be moments where things will be hard between her and Kyoka and like their relationship will have tension, but in the end they're always going to kind of be there for each other cuz he just wants to support her any way that he can and she wants to, better herself and she wants to be happier. So, I feel like there's so much more to see and I can't wait. And also
mm,
that bitch Kana, I hope she ends up eating some
Ka-
shit.
Kaya.
Oh,
Ka-
Kaya, whatever.
Kana's from Oshinoko,
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
and
Kaya. No, no,
you
I
like
like
Kana.
Kaya. No, Kaya. Yeah, that bitch Kaya can eat some shit, and so can her mom. Her mom also. They both suck.
They're in exile in their modest country home up in the north.
Good. They deserve
I hope they're
everything
never
that's
seen
given to
again.
them. I hope so too. I hope we never have to see them
Well, I
because
was doing
honestly,
some research like I always do, and apparently in the light novel, like the dad is a lot worse because they actually softened him up, believe it or not, in the anime.
wow.
Because I
I
guess
think.
in the
Oh,
manga, there's actually a scene where he flat out admits he never loved Mio. And like
oh,
she was straight up a tool, like just a tool. And the second became useless, he just got stopped caring.
wow.
And he also implies that if Kana had no, not Kana, look what you did. If Kaya had no, if Kaya had no powers, he would have treated her the same way.
Yeah, which is also fucked up.
Well, also the whole fact that like he had a lover and then got forced into that marriage, and then the second Sumi died, he immediately goes back to his previous lover. Like
Mm.
that's not going to cause problems.
Tilly, what did you think of the shows? You watched bits and pieces of both of them. What did you think? Do you have
It's
anything to say?
it's funny to me how so many things in this show like wouldn't have happened if like her dad just thought things through better. Like so many of these problems are because he did not think anything through and just like wanted
Well,
to get rid of.
it's more he wanted money and he wanted power. And he got that by, potentially doing that. But then it didn't work out
But
for him.
you also find out that he really had no or anything really.
Well, I think it was more of the potential to have an Usopp family power. It was more of that, and when that didn't work out,
When Sumi ruined it for him.
yeah. What you doing? You big butt. You big butt.
I will say this show has beautiful animation.
Yes. And I love the character designs. Like I think they're all so pretty and the backgrounds are so pretty and the music is pretty. I love the intro. It's so soft and nice and it just really fits the tone of the show. Yeah.
And
I
season
love
2
the
has
sound.
already been announced.
Whoa! Yeah.
A lot of things coming
I'm
up.
gonna have to get a Netflix account because I can't mooch off of yours anymore, which sucks.
Yeah, because Netflix is stupid.
Netflix sucks. But if I want to watch My Happy Marriage and Dora Hidoro, I'm gonna have to come here, you. Oh,
but
what do you have to say?
I gave this one also like an 8.5.
I gave this one a 9. I really enjoyed this series.
I'm gonna read the manga and I'll see if that changes anything. Then I think it's gonna be kind of like Spy Family. I feel like season 2 is really gonna affect that.
I'm really looking forward to what's in store for season 2. I just really enjoyed this series. I'm glad that you liked it, and I'm glad that you also instantly felt angry.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were shitty human beings at the start. What did you
hear
do?
that?
Squeeze the air out of her?
I'm not. She's just being rude.
You're about to get your face ripped off.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
that's the sound of happiness. You're gonna get wrecked.
Say something.
I think she said enough.
She like doesn't meow. She just makes these like.
You're gonna get like your face destroyed. This is all being recorded on video. By the way.
No. You can't upload this. I don't have any makeup on.
But yeah. So this was an interesting one. 2 really good shows.
No, yeah, and 2 we're both looking forward to more seasons to come out because
now that we've established though that we will revisit shows, I'm interested. Like maybe in the future we'll do. Let her go. Let her go.
I want to do Jujutsu Kaisen. That's on my list to watch next. I think that would be fun.
You know, another one that we should revisit, like because we barely watched any of it. We could probably do Comey because we never finished Comey.
Yeah, I guess.
I can make it my choice and make you watch it. So.
No, I don't want to watch Comey. It's fine. We can think about it. Is it a 12er?
It's a 26er.
It's a 26er? That's a lot of episodes. I might have one in mind, actually, that could work. But it'll have to actually be on hold for a bit until the dub is completely out. So,
yeah. We have things to figure out, though. Like, obviously, Oshinoko will be back.
Did you hear that?
What are you doing to your cat?
No, that was me.
Oh.
Did you hear that, like, sound?
I guess. Oh, Jesus. But yeah, so that was our anime swap.
Yes, it was swappings of the animes of things. Bill, what? So, if
all right, she clearly just broke, but yeah. So, other than that, not really much else to say. So I guess we can wrap this up. Once again, guys, thanks for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
Wait, can you see me?
I can see. Yeah.
Can you see me? Wait, you can't?
Yeah, your forehead's still sticking up.
All right, how about now? Can you see me? Can you see me? Are you sure?
This doesn't make any sense unless I get to post the video version.
No, you can't do that.
Then
you
stop.
Can't do that. All right, you can only post it if you just do one word of ASMR.
No.
Then you're not posting it.
And stop doing visual gags that no one will get in the audio
part
version.
of the jokes. That's part of the jokes. It's
Joke
a
has to be
podcast.
joke has to be funny to be a joke. Okay, okay.
Whip my headphones on the counter. I was gonna whip them and then stand up and march and walk away, but then I actually whipped them on the counter. I hope I didn't break them. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't know how that would affect me hearing you, but
Did you hear the thump when that happened?
yes. All right. But anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. The Gaming and Collecting Podcast can be found on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple and Spotify. We're now available on YouTube with occasional video versions of the podcast. Alex just coughed into her mic and blew her nose all over it.
It was an accident. I was trying to breathe heavily, and
Yeah, well,
my nose
serves you right. And you can find all of our links at linktree/the barbecue games. And you can, if you'd like, you can come join the GNC Podcast Network Discord server where you can find all things GNC Podcast, 3DO Experience, Geek Addicts, talk anime gaming, all that fun stuff. Okay, whatever. And with that, we will see you all later.
Wait, no. We were doing this for 1.5 hours?
Yeah.
How did that happen? I thought this was like 20 minutes.
No.
What happened? No. No. No, no, no. No, no, no. That's all you say. You won't do ASMR. Come on, just do it once.
No.
Do it.